Hey guys, welcome back to Wager Talk TV. I apologize for some of the errors here this morning, but we are going to bring you guys a great show, 4 games to break down here in the NHL. And let's not waste any time and get right into it here. There are some good games despite it being a small slate here in the NHL tonight. The first game we will break down for you guys, the Calgary Flames and the Ottawa Senators. The home dogs, the Senators, plus 140, the Flames minus 165. Total listed at 6.5 right now. Carm, when I look at this Flames team, all I see is the word underachieving. Despite that big effort they had in the second and third period on Saturday afternoon, I still am not really buying what this team is selling me. But at the same time, I also wonder if this price is what it should be. Do you think the Ottawa Senators can play spoiler here, or will the Calgary Flames start to heat up?
This is the thing. This has been the biggest market mover since the line came out. And I think a lot of it, because it opened up at Calgary minus 135, and then we started to see some numbers across the board, getting up to 160, 165, 170 to 175 of one of the books on our Wager Talk Live lines. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that the Sens are missing 2 of their goalies. Forsberg and Cam Talbot are both out, so the confirmed goalie is Mads Sogard. He's making his first start. He came on in that loss to the Oilers. I think he came on with a few minutes left after the injury. Only had about 5 shots on net, stopped them all. And he has played before. I think last year he played 2 games. He went 1-1. But this is the thing: is you look at they're on their third string goalie, a goalie at the call up. And you have Calgary coming off that 7-2 win over the Sabres. It's all on how you take the win against the Sabres in context. I think you have to put it in context, that one, because we're seeing a lot of teams come out of this NHL All-Star break that haven't played in 9 or 10 games, that have very good first periods, and then they have no legs in the second. And that's what happened with the Sabres. They played a phenomenal 20 minutes, opening 20 minutes, and then you looked at it, and as I mentioned to you earlier, Andrew, in the second and third period, it looked like a NHL team versus a university team. The Flames just skated all over them. The Sabres had no legs in that second period, and before they knew it, they're down 5-2 in that game. It was just goal after goal after goal. If you had the over, you loved it. I would probably lean to the total here. I think we're still going to see some goals because Ottawa can score. I know it's supposed to be Markstrom in goal, but I get the move on Calgary as far as the money line, and I'm fine with it because I think Calgary is likely the right side here. The one thing that always scares me about Calgary is if you want to make the playoffs, you've got to learn to win on the road, and this team has a losing record on the road. That is a scary thing when you're laying $1.60 or $1.65. You can lay it if you think it's a good spot, and this is how I'm feeling here. Ottawa didn't look good, again, like I said, against Edmonton, and now they have goaltending issues. And teams with goaltending issues are getting lit up this year. Just look at Pittsburgh in that second game of the back-to-back against the LA Kings. They got lit up for 6 and switched goalies. So it's going to be interesting here, but I think Calgary's got to be the play here. It depends on what your juice tolerance is, but they're the play here, but I would probably lean to the over as well.
Yeah, as much as it was a poor performance in the second and third period from the Sabres, something must have been said in the dressing room between the periods because the Flames certainly got sparked. They looked like a whole new team in that second period versus the first period. And for the Ottawa Senators, I don't know what to even say about what happened to Anton Forsberg. I feel so bad. I mean, not only did he injure one of his legs, he tore MCL in both of his legs. The goalie situation is not good right now in Ottawa, guys. The defensive situation, honestly, is not good overall in Ottawa. And I think if Calgary wins this one, which I do think they will, their team total will cash in at over 3.5 at minus 120. So you're taking that minus 165 current price and moving it into a minus 120, which I think is a great bet to make. So just like Carm, I do like the over, but I think I'll just narrow in on the Calgary Flames. And I do agree completely with what he said there about the road team. This Flames team has to learn how to play a lot better on the road. I'm hoping they can get it done tonight, get me 4 goals to get over 3.5 for their team total. Next game we'll break down here, guys. Let's talk about the Florida Panthers and the Minnesota Wild. This is an interesting matchup to me because I look at this Minnesota Wild team, and they're all, first of all, no pun intended, Carm, a wild game, a crazy game. I mean, the game that they played this weekend, and a lot of the games that they've been playing recently have not been easy by any stretch. Any wins they have been challenges, and this doesn't really matter who they're playing. But the Florida Panthers, to me, they're a team that I thought for a little bit they were almost being overpriced. They had a couple wins against good teams, and all of a sudden they had that price against Colorado that I just didn't agree with. I was on the Avalanche, and I look at that game, and I think that Florida, I still don't trust their defensive ability. They might be a good scoring team again, but I still don't really trust their defensive ability. For me, when I look at this game, I see a Florida team coming off a very poor defensive performance, the Wild trying to bring back their identity of being a low-scoring defensive team. They have a great goaltender. Florida's goalie's been playing better, but their defense has been letting him down. I actually think the play is under 6.5 goals here in this one. Kind of risky in a Florida game, Carm, but I'll go with it today for my play on the show. What do you think here in this game?
I think that game was a wild one on the weekend. 95 shots on goal in that game. 50-45 were the shots on goal. It's pond hockey is the epitome of what pond hockey is. It was unbelievable, that game. But listen, Florida made a couple mistakes in that game, and they paid for it dearly. But this team, I'm telling you right now, this team, I believe, and listen, I've been their not their biggest fan. I've been critical of this team, and mainly because of the coach. I'm not a Paul Maurice fan at all, and dating back to his stint at Winnipeg. But this team is starting to come together. This is, I think, they're a bye team, and they're hitting the road for a 4-game road trip, which obviously I think this is the toughest of the 4 tonight. And I actually believe that if they win tonight, they're about to go on a roll here. They play the Wild tonight, then they play St. Louis, Washington, and Nashville before they return home to face Anaheim and Buffalo. So this is a team right now on the outside looking in, but I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think if you can get them at plus money to make the playoffs, you want to take Florida at plus money. Just the same way as I told you before the show, the Pittsburgh Penguins are plus 240 to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to play that because unless Pittsburgh gets a goalie in, and I'm going off on a tangent here, Andrew, Pittsburgh's going to miss the playoffs with the goaltending duel that they have right now. But getting back to this game, I'm leaning Florida. You're getting them at minus 105. They were plus money, and that plus money is now gone. They're at minus 105. It's a near pick'em game, and I just think this team has turned the corner. They're going to start to win some games. This will be a winning road trip for them. So whether it starts tonight or not, we'll have to see. But in these 4 games, they're going to come away with at least 5 points, which is a winning road trip. So I'm leaning Florida here in this one.
I like that, Carm. Your own addition during the show of a little bit of buy and sell action for a Florida team that, as well, like you said, should go on a pretty good stretch here. I'm just going to lock in the under, but I agree with you. It's a really good price there on the Panthers, and we'll see how that game plays out. Hopefully, for both of us, a low-scoring victory for the Panthers. Next game we're going to break down, Carm, it kind of features a situation we saw a lot over the past couple days here. 2 teams that are kind of playing a home and home. We saw it with the Blue Jackets and the Leafs and several other teams. But we're going to talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. We have Vancouver minus 115 at home here. Detroit minus 105, total at 6.5. And, this Red Wings team, I'm curious your thoughts on them, Carm, because they kind of played upset the start of the year. They played that villain role, and they shocked some people. And now they're getting decent prices in certain games. But here's Vancouver, a team that everybody loved to fade. They were allowing goals to everybody. If you bet the over in a lot of their games, you've had quite a bit of success. But then all of a sudden they started hanging around in games and competing pretty well. And you take a look at their last game against Detroit, it was a pretty good performance. What do you think about this one? Can they do it again?
That was a good game. It was entertaining, if nothing else, especially because a lot of people gravitate to wanting to play overs and stuff. The problem here is the Wings always play inspired hockey at home, and then they hit the road, and it's the same thing. They can't that same energy, that same play. They just don't take it on the road. I think if you look at their last 12 games, they are 3-9 in those games. They just do not win on the road, Andrew. And this is we talk about it is teams. You have to look at how a team plays. Like they're 13th on the road this year, 9 wins, 14 losses. Obviously, a negative goal differential. The problem is they're playing Vancouver, who they're not playing lights out either. They're playing a little bit better under Tocchet, but this is still a team that at the end of the day is selling pieces of their team. Spencer Martin in goal. They're looking at right now when we're talking about we keep waiting for Thatcher Demko to come back, and now there's talk of once Demko comes back, he starts 3, 4, or 5 games prior to the trade deadline. If he looks good, they're going to ship the Demko out to another team. There's it's just this is one of those games where do you even want to take it? I would look at the over. I know it sounds like a typical thing to say, 2 bad teams, let's go to the over. But Vancouver's last 15 games, they've gone over the total 13 times. It literally is just put it in and check the results later. You're cashing a ticket when you play Vancouver overs. 13-2. How do you go wrong with that? And I think if you go a little further back to their last 20, it's something like 15. I think it's 15-3-2 because there are a couple games that landed on 6 where the totals were 6, but might have closed at 6.5. So it depends on what the closing number was, but it's still 15 out of 20 at the very least that have gone over the total. So I'm just going to go the same way here and hope that this game mimics what we saw on Saturday between these two, and it's another 5-2, 4-3 game. I don't care how it gets there, as Pavlos would say. I don't care who wins as long as it goes over.
I was thinking the exact same thing when I was looking this game over yesterday. Like, I was trying to decide the winner, Carm, and then I said to myself, why? Why do I have to decide the winner when both these teams trend over? We see horrible defense, consistent goal scoring from the top guys. Also, this is one of those games right now, if you're looking at Vancouver and Detroit, a lot of their production are coming from the same guys. So anybody out there looking at props, I know, Carm, you've been crushing the shots on goal props. Right now, it's a lot of the big name guys. You know, I love to talk about the guys deeper in the lineup, but right now it's the opposite of that. It's the top guns that are doing the bulk of the work for both these teams. Dylan Larkin, Elias Pettersson, and those guys are really the guys that are carrying the load for these clubs. But I'm right there with Carmine on this over 6.5. I think that not much will change from the last time these teams met just a few short days ago. But I do think that no matter who wins this game, we should see a messy, sloppy defensive game once again. I don't think they can right their wrongs. I don't think these teams can become better defensively overnight. As much as they want to be, as much as the coaches might preach for them to get better at it, I'm not really sure they can do it. So we're definitely in agreement here on the show today with a lot of things, especially the over in this game. Now, Carm, this LA Kings team, let's talk about them for a second here because they're a team that I think that a lot of people have different opinions on them. And they're minus 150 tonight. You talked about Buffalo having that flat second and third period over the weekend after a good first. Buffalo plus 130 here. You got an LA Kings team off a really easy victory. They cruised to that win on the weekend. Buffalo, well, they're off a game they are not too satisfied with. Does that impact your handicapping at all in this game?
It's crazy because at the beginning of the season, if you told me that the LA Kings would end up being in a battle at the end of the year to try and make the playoffs, I would have disagreed with you. But this is what's going to happen to this team is because in that conference that they're in, Andrew, in the you look at in the Pacific. You got the Vegas Golden Knights, who have started to play well again at 68 points. You got the Seattle Kraken at 65, Edmonton 65, the Kings 65, and then Calgary 60. The Oilers are going to continue to win. Your Montreal Canadiens ended their streak of 9-0-2, that unbeaten run, but nonetheless, the Oilers are going to continue to win games. They're going to finish first or second in that Pacific, and you would think Calgary, who has a favorable schedule coming up as well too, will get up there, which puts likely the Kings fighting for that 7th and 8th spot. And there's some other good teams in the West. As far as the West goes, I think all the best teams are in the East, personally, but that are going to be fighting for those spots. So the Kings need wins. Now, when you look at this game here, I talked about it. The Sabres played an absolutely flat game. They came out, played a great 20 minutes and then they had no legs in their first game after that All-Star break, an extended one. I actually like the Sabres in this spot because I'm still not convinced, number one, on the Kings playing consistent hockey. But more so, sometimes you look at a team, you think, okay, one team is in a playoff spot in the West, playing somewhat well, coming off a 6-0 victory. How can you take a Sabres team that got blown out 7-2? The Sabres are a completely different beast on the road. They a team that's not in the playoffs is winning on the road. They are 11-2-2 their last 15 games on the road. And those 15 games, I'm pretty sure that they were the dogs in all 15 of those games, and they're 11-2-2. The last time they went out west, they beat Colorado, Arizona, and Vegas on a 3-game road trip. They've won in Boston, where Boston normally doesn't lose games. This is a team that's beating good teams on the road, and you're getting them at plus 130. It's worth a shot to take the Sabres here at plus 130 to rebound off of what was an embarrassing performance. So, with that said, I'm not even going to look at the total. I'm going to take the Sabres at plus 130 and see if they can consistently continue to win on the road. If this team goes through a swoon, Andrew, where they lose 3 or 4 out of the break, then their playoff run is done. Any chance to have a playoff run is done, especially with that 15 games in 22 days coming up for this team. So it is they've got a weird schedule, but let's see if they can get back on the horse tonight. Give me the Sabres plus 130.
It's hard for me to elaborate further on this game. I mean, you covered it great, and a lot of the opinions that you have are the exact same as mine. How would you feel about the first period money line, Carm, for a sprinkle as well, based on a lot of the reasoning for them coming out desperate and motivated? Would you care to play that at all, or mostly just stick with the full game?
Wait, say that again, because you kind of cut out there. Your connection.
First period money line. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you would think that the Sabres come out similar to how they came out in that game against Calgary. Listen, they played almost a flawless first period, but the NHL isn't about one period. NHL is about playing 60 minutes and sometimes an extra 5 after that. We'll see. As far as this short little road trip is for this team, what they can do. They've got to be embarrassed about that game, but they also know that coming out of the break, they were going to play 4 games over a span of 20 days. That's a terrible schedule. 4 games in 20 days, and then you got to play 15 games in 22 days. It's such an unbalanced schedule. I don't know. This team has young legs. You didn't see them in the second and third periods. They were outplayed in those games, but we'll see if they can pick it up and regenerate and come back in this one. The key to the Sabres winning the game is probably winning the first period. I think if LA gets the lead, the Sabres are done. So with that said, because I like the Sabres full game, I would lean to them in the first period as well too.
That's definitely going to make my card, or at least be a small bet for me. I think they'll come out really hungry as well. So, Carm, it's either going to be a really good day for both of us, or maybe not so good, because we share a lot of the same thoughts today. So hopefully we come back tomorrow with smiles on our faces with a great day here on Puck Time. I want to remind everybody out there, of course, it is $9 Monday. Every single play available up at Wager Talk right now, listed for only $9. And I don't know about you, Carm. Don't get me wrong. I'm a football guy. I'm kind of happy the attention's back on hockey, man. NBA, NCAA basketball, hockey. Football's over with. That means more people are talking about hockey on the weekends, which is something that I like. But, of course, there's also another sport going on right now. That's the EPL. We got Champions League. What do you have going, Carm, today? And what's your best bet for the show?
Yeah, 3 plays up in NHL for tonight. Obviously, it's $9 Monday, so you can get those at over at Wager Talk. 2 plays in soccer, 2:45 kickoff for those ones. A game from Italy, a game from Spain, and I have a Champions League play on Tuesday and Wednesday going. I have a great deal up on my page, and it's on Kevin Dolan's page, which is a buy one get one free. Basically, every single Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League, the tournaments that are going on right now. Every single play Kevin and I release, you'll get. It's a 2-for-1 deal. you'll get them. So you can head to my page or his. You purchase that and you get every single UEFA play that we release right to the finals on June the 10th. And as far as the show best bet, right back to that game that we talked about, it's one of those ones where when you see a number like 13-2 over the total the last 15 times they've played, you just blindly take it. And that's what I'm going to do today with the Vancouver Canucks, Detroit Red Wings over 6.5 goals. I'm going to blindly take it and hope we see another 5-2 game like we did on Saturday afternoon.
Love it. Let's get a high-scoring game, and best of luck with the soccer action, Car. I'm looking forward to following along with you. And guys, I really do recommend checking out Carmine's soccer plays there as well as the NHL. Every play is up for $9. I'm awaiting some information in the NHL for tonight, and I potentially will be putting out a 5% play. If not, I will have a 4%, 100%, and a couple other smaller plays, which, of course, you did hear some of my leans and plays right here on Puck Time. My best bet for the show today, we'll try and start the week off on a great note. I'm going to go with under in Florida and Minnesota. Minnesota, to me, needs to get their identity back. They've slowly been trending in that direction, but both these teams are coming off sloppy defensive performances, and I think this is a good game to right the wrongs. This is not me going with a trend. This is not me going with recent form. I'm picking a spot with Minnesota at home, expecting a rock-solid defensive performance, 2 great goaltenders, and the coaching staff's putting lots of emphasis on shutting things down in their own defensive end. So I'm looking at Florida and Minnesota under 6.5 goals here for today. It might be a small Monday slate, guys, but it's a really good one. Lots of cash to be made here on Monday into the NHL, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. So I've got the under in the Minnesota game. We've got Carm rocking with the over in Detroit and Vancouver. And again, as always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in here. And Wager Talk today is coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll see you tomorrow.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.